Moikka moi! It's Riikka Kovasin here today with some ATCs made using paper garden supplies. I have some old stamps in my paper garden stash, and this time I decided to use those as my kind of jumping off point and thought that they would make a lovely background. Because they are so small, I decided to use ATCs because that's a smaller scale. I don't have to collage a whole art journal page, for example. I'm also using paper garden stamps for these to make the focal butterflies. I first go through the stash I kind of gathered for this project and then start collaging the stamps into these chipboard pieces. They are sturdy enough to hold the wet medium without warping. I'm using a matte medium as my adhesive and differ the way or change the way I'm laying the stamps on top. So some of them are horizontal, some vertical and kind of standing on their head. So there's kind of this eclectic pattern emerging to the background. They are all green colored, so that's kind of tying them together. I'm first making the one card and then repeating the process to the other two. After I have the collage done, I also stamped the butterflies that I'm going to use as the focal point, and then I'm cutting some elements out of a paper carton printable. This is this kind of summer motif with daisies and bluebells that in my mind went nicely to these cards. I'm also cutting some paper garden stickers to be added, but when I'm layering the elements on top of the backgrounds, well, they get a little lost. That background, even though I love the green color, kind of jade tones, is a little bit overpowering. So I add a thin layer of white gesso there to dull the contrast down a little bit to make the elements on top pop a little bit more. But just a thin layer, you can still see the green underneath. And I'm also adding some stamping on top and kind of went with the postal theme and using this postal stamp kind of texture there. I then added a little bit green mediums to the background. So there's this splodge of green in the cards, and I also added some colors to the butterflies. These are both made with watercolors. I'm then using a green ink to ink around the edges of the layering elements, so that's kind of tying everything together again. I first staple the little label and the printed element together and then add a vellum sticker on top. I'm thinking of adding another vellum sticker on top of the butterfly, this little pin, but when I add it, it doesn't show at all, so it's kind of an unnecessary layer, so I just remove it. I then ink around the edges of the card with the same green ink I have going on there, and then mount the cluster using foam tape. I'm feeling that the card needs a little bit extra touch and something to tie everything together, so I grab a piece of twine, turn it around the card, and then add the butterfly on top. So there's like this vertical element securing everything together. I'm then repeating the same composition and layering to all of the three cards, and as a finishing touch I'm then adding a little label to each. It's a little tiny label, and I'm cutting a word on top from another vellum sticker sheet to kind of make a title for each card. And after that, the set is done. Here's some detail shots still from the cards. I hope you liked the video. I hope you had some inspiration out of it. And if you would subscribe my channel, I would love it. Thank you so much for watching. Wishing you a very fine weekend. Bye!